Hi there, and welcome to Ramblings of the Mad. Or if your brain had a podcast, this would be it. I'm your host, Jess, and today I am joined with my lovely co host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Ellie. I'm Chris.
Welcome, everybody. Oh, goodness. So, I have to be honest, I really didn't prep much for today. Um, so, we're just going to see how where this episode takes us right now. Um, so it might get funny.
If
It,
it
it
takes
might get a little
ramblings.
it might get a little weird. Um, may get a little too deep, but that's kind of the point. And I'm just going to let the conversation take the lead. And honestly, that's probably a good approach because there's a lot on my mind, right?
The cuteness in
So,
chat is my better half.
I see this.
your better half. Nice. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Sorry. That's weird.
We're gonna start an ASMR just for that.
You gonna start an ASMR just for me?
Hello, my name is Jess, and I like pie.
My name is Ellie.
Mm-mm.
Dangerous.
I ain't getting into this because I've read my own writing to people. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Oh god.
Oh, come on.
No. No, no. Mm-mm. I'm not getting us a following based on that.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, you gotta have your own subgenre of a community. That could be your niche, Chris.
Spicy books.
Spicy books. Sure, why not?
Woo.
It's worth it.
Okay. So I lied a little bit. I did prep a little bit for tonight. I spent about an hour prepping.
An hour.
Just kind of throwing some thoughts together because
Wing it. Go for it. Do it, lady.
do it. Okay. So there's like a lot I could rant about right now when it comes to politics and the absurdity of the last 3 fucking weeks.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
That is an understatement.
Specifically, I could be ranting right now about the latest executive order that 45 signed a couple days ago. But rather than jump straight into, headlines and all of that, I've been more focused on the conversations I've been having recently and the ways harmful rhetoric has quietly crept into everyday life. So it's striking how we shrug off all the dangerous ideas and excuse them or treat them just like someone's opinion. And people hide behind that word. It's like a shield for their beliefs that are actually damaging, cruel, and sometimes just straight up fucking violent.
Sometimes,
Like
yeah.
somehow labeling something as an opinion erases the harm that it causes, right?
They think it erases the negativity also.
Yeah, they think it
Like
erases the
they
negativity,
they can laugh it off. Oh, it's just their opinion.
right? So
I think
it's
there's definitely a line. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but there's definitely a line between stating your opinion, because I mean that's kind of what the Constitution's about. You know, our ability to. We are in a position in a country in which we do have that freedom of speech, but there is a line when it comes down to being drawn to a freedom of speech versus hate speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're targeting
Or
a specific group that's basically gonna antagonize, to instigate. You
mhm.
know, there's a line there, and I think that line needs to be drawn. So absolutely, I agree with you on that aspect.
I heard this. I don't know. It's been a little while since I heard this term, but I really like it because not everything can be labeled as quote hate speech. However, I like hate adjacent
Yeah.
because they're trying to word things in such a way that it can't be called hate speech. You know, they won't specifically call out a certain group or certain people, and you know they can just say, oh well, it's just hypothetical, I'm just saying hypotheticals.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times people don't really think about how powerful words really are.
Right.
You know
Well,
the
and
whole
it's
saying that we were taught growing up, the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me,
mhm.
Mm.
to kind of toughen us up. But it's the exact opposite.
The
Words
pen is
are
mightier than the
designed,
sword.
yeah, the pen is mightier than the sword because words matter. And how you word things and put it out there really just can change somebody's perspective on things, or
Mhm.
it can incite harm. Um, it shapes our thoughts, our behaviors, and just the way communities function in general.
Mhm.
And we've seen a lot of that, especially in the last 3 weeks, like more
Mm.
so than we normally would, right?
Also, I'm seeing, I don't know how to fully explain this, so lack of better words, there's a distinct tone change in how they're saying things, whereas typically, you know, if you really want somebody on your side, you could say, I've got some ice cream for you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Whereas when they were trying to incite rage in us directly, I got you some fucking ice cream. It would just be a total change in the tone. Whereas now that's not. Now that tone and the way that they're saying things like that, it's almost impossible to pinpoint where the difference is.
And that's where, you know, being able to critically think and analyze the rhetoric that's being thrown at you to determine, is this something that is causing to me feel, or is this based in facts and truth,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem that we're running into right now, and this has been prevalent for the last decade, but it's worse now, is that when people do try to hold others accountable, that effort is often twisted. You know, it gets framed as un-American and anti-free speech, or that we're just overreacting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like speaking up against cruelty or dangerous rhetoric is somehow a threat to the country itself. So that weaponization that they're employing right now, all it does is it just silences people. It discourages action, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes standing up for decency feel fucking risky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
even just controversial. Like me stating, hey, on my Facebook, if I write a post that says, hey, unfriend me if you believe X because X is harmful,
Mm-hmm.
that is now considered risky and controversial because I set a boundary.
Mm.
Which then leads me into the whole what's the personal cost of all of it, right? Because standing up to these ideas, it isn't just a debate online anymore. It's really not.
Mm-mm.
It now
No, it's
hits
everywhere.
it hits closer to home. We're having these conversations in our own homes with our family, with our friends, with our coworkers.
Hmm.
It now puts you at odds with the people you love. And that's when you start to really realize and it really sinks in that this isn't just abstract anymore.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
There are real consequences for defending what I call decency.
Can I add something to that whole thought process?
Yes.
Um, Not only from that aspect is it almost impossible anymore, but if you don't revere or support people who are doing the shitty behaviors or who are doing the wrong behaviors, there's something wrong with you. And I mean, I've got a really good example. I actually wrote about this earlier on our blog, earlier this week. Michigan, are you okay? Blink once if you're not. Um,
Right?
where the representative in question believed that 16 defendants who were accused of um, tampering and felony forgery to change the electoral vote in Trump's favor,
Right.
he called them patriots.
Yep.
And because the state attorney general was trying to prosecute them, called the state attorney general a thug.
Yeah.
Which all of that information, all the sources that I found that is on our blog. So anyhow, if anyone really wants to look into it, please go check out our blog. It's Michigan, Are You Okay? But how can you call someone who's trying to circumvent our election process a patriot?
I
Because
think.
go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I think, you know, to be fair, a lot of the words that the head of our administration uses is extremely harmful. I mean, that
Yep.
is without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I mean, he even said in a press conference, "Only stupid people follow me," or some
Yep.
shit. What was the exact quote or something? Smart people don't follow me.
Yeah.
Like, he's just stupid. You know what I mean? Like,
At that point, like, doesn't anybody else realize what he just called all of his followers?
yeah, it's a laughing stock. It truly is. I have a friend of mine. Actually, it's one of my brother's friends, but they went to school together. But he has a really he is left leaning, but he's able to have intellectual conversations with individuals. Very very smart individual. Um, and he made a post, and his post, someone was commenting, oh well, here's, you know, contradicting point ABC, and he's like, listen, I know on other administrative things, left leaning politics, left leaning presidents did XYZ. I'm not saying that the administration has not followed. We've had a faulty system for a really long time, and there does need to be change on both ends, not just the right, not just the left, but on all ends of the spectrum. It needs to change. You
Mhm.
know, there's rhetoric on both sides of the spectrum, far right and far left, that needs to be changed. And I have another topic I'll go into, but I'm gonna wait till Jess figures her little, you know, speech before I go on that, because it
It's all related.
it's all related. So
I I have to say that people want to only hear what they want to hear.
Mhm.
yeah,
So you can prevent them evidence that counters what their belief is or what their opinion is or whatever.
Everything point by point. Yeah.
You can do it point by point, and they will only believe what they want to believe. You can
They'll
give
tell you
them,
that you manufactured it, or that
Some people
you
don't
got.
even want to talk about it. They'll be like,
yeah,
"Nope, this is what I believe, and you can't tell me otherwise." I watched another guy, the entertainment and person I watch on YouTube, and he was having a really, really good conversation with somebody, and he was like, "Well, I have the facts to say otherwise." He's like, "Well, I don't want to watch that." He's like, "Well,
yeah,
why?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just not watching it. What I think is right." And like, that's where the fucking problem is, right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on. If you have
yeah.
that kind of mindset, that is one of the main issues in America right now. And I've been doing this huge deep dive on it, and I I agree with you, Jess. Like, you know, they need to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people aren't open to the idea of listening to a different perspective now because it's
No.
become so polarized, and the right and the left both weaponize rhetoric in order to get following because it works.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way they frame it is they try to make you feel like that you're the victim in the situation, and because you're feeling something about what they're saying, any other opinion that, or any other fact, I should say, that counters that pushes up against their feelings. And people don't like to feel uncomfortable. They absolutely despise it. And if they feel uncomfortable about something, they immediately shut it down. Or they try to flip the script on you, and they shift the goalpost to set up some arbitrary line that you have to cross in order to change their mind.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't
Another
work.
another facet to that is, not only will they basically play on people's emotions, but then they get this thought, they try to make you have this thought process that if you don't agree with them, you're the victimizer. You are the one who is doing these things.
You're the one who's doing harm. It's a total Darvo. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what that is, it's a whole narcissistic thing that they do to paint themselves as the victim, and you're the perpetrator of whatever violence or whatever towards them that they feel. That was weird,
Cat.
Everest.
You know, I do
No,
want to
it
say
sounded
this.
like thunder, but it wasn't thunder, or like somebody was dragging a
Ooh.
trash can. It was weird. I love
You know,
no.
I do want to say this because I've been doing some reading on my own media literacy
Mhm.
aspect. Um, the there's a cognitive thing that goes on in our brains, and this doesn't necessarily matter where you stand politically or anything like that, but how in conversation we react to one another.
Yeah.
A lot of that stems from childhood, your environment around you, what kind of media you
Mm-hmm.
ingest. Um, it puts you into this bubble, especially in the realm of AI and algorithms, you know, that all of these different social medias provide, where it puts people in this bubble. And we're so accustomed to this that they're individuals that that's what they hear, and it's almost instinctive. The
Yeah.
moment conversation that differs from them happens, your first human instinct is to immediately shut it down.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That goes down to a cognitive science type of mindset, which is another subcategory of a book I'm reading. Intro to cognitive science, because it's a really fascinating topic. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how we are able to digest information, where we get our response from when we receive new information, especially that of different opinions.
Yeah.
Hearing, like watching a video versus having a conversation, are two separate things. And
It's
then
also very depending on if you are primarily right brain or primarily left brain.
that could have a factor. There's
Yep.
so many factors that go into this. I haven't even really started that cognitive science book because there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's
There's
psychology
a
in there. There's philosophy in there. Like,
Psychology, psych,
you
and
know,
abnormal psych, and all of that was my favorite stuff in college.
yeah. So there is a, we've been conditioned to react away.
yeah.
We've been
We are Pavlov's
conditioned.
puppies.
We have been conditioned to think a certain way, you know, like, and it really is sad, you know. And this doesn't necessarily fall on any political line, but more so on our education system, how our parents were raised. Like, there's so many different layers in how we are able as individuals to process information.
Yeah.
So, you know, Justin, you were saying that like when people get different opinions from an individual, their immediate response is shut it down and not hear any other viewpoints.
Yep.
I don't want to excuse that behavior. Well, be like, oh, well, they had this growing up or they had that growing up. No, it's more like we need to bring into focus why we are like that and talk about that with people, because I'm not perfect. And in my research the past 2 weeks, I have been realizing I too am in this echo chamber, this confirmation bias chamber, where everything I see and hear on my social media is everything from what I typically view, because that's the algorithm. And it's baffling. It really is.
You know, I think in that instance of the whole, you know, your FYP and all that, I think that's where I'm kind of lucky, because the majority of I built my FYP brick by brick. I'm not even gonna lie. There is all manner of book talk, and if you know, you know.
Yes.
And comedy and arts and crafts.
Right.
Like, I don't have, because TikTok is my escape. You know, TikTok, I go to TikTok and Instagram to find some funny shit to laugh my ass off and maybe piss myself laughing. I don't want to go to it to see which politician is arguing with which politician and what and so I think that for me is a benefit, because I don't have the biases. I can go and I can look at a rundown of headlines, and I can look at topics and go, okay, that is a topic that concerns me. And then I can start diving into that topic.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when it's already being supplied to you, you do get that situational bias.
Yeah, you do. And I can fully admit that my FYP is fully stuck in an echo chamber. So that's why I go out of my way after seeing something that catches my interest on my FYP that's political. I will go out of my way to pull it up on different websites, different news articles that are about it, and not just left-leaning media. I pull it up from both sides to see both sides of the stories and how they word things. Because as we know, Fox News is a propaganda machine, but so is CNN. So you have to get multiple perspectives on things to be like, oh, so what my echo chamber is saying is not necessarily what's actually happening.
Right. One of the things that I also
media literacy thing comes into play is you need to go out and seek other sources besides what's in your echo chamber.
One of the things that I also do, granted this is just because I live and breathe SEO, I look at the people also ask. Anytime, like, I'm looking specifically with politics, because like I don't want to miss a side. I want to see from both sides, because we all know that there is 3 sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth. That's it. Um, so I want to be able to see it all, and so I will look at the people also ask, and I will look for ones that are asking the opposite of what I'm asking, because
Yeah.
then I'll see like the different results that they, came up for that. Um, and sometimes I'll dive deeper into the opposite of what I asked, just because I think sometimes I find out more information that way.
Yeah.
It could be just be more sources to review or whatever, but sometimes I find out more that way.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a
and
nerd. I'm not sorry.
well, and you guys know me. I research the fuck out of everything.
Yeah, the OCD definitely kicks in pretty hard. Which is kind of where I was with my like I go through these waves where I don't want to call them like a research or OCD type thing, but a fixation.
Yeah.
I with where I'm going with where my research is, this is going to be a very much so an eye-opening long-term process of educating myself. This is the path that I'm going to be going on. It's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It is complicated.
It is a lot. Like the 2 books I'm reading, Style and Reader Response, and Beginning of Cognitive Science, along with I think a couple other podcast people. Um, it's really is eye opening, um, and it led me on this path of learning where my own media literacy comes from. So I'll dive into my little section. We can go back and
Yeah,
forth.
we can go back to mine later. I'll find a way to segue it in, so we're good.
We'll segue it in. We'll segue.
Yeah, this week I'm just along for the ride, and what that mouth do?
Hurt your feelings. So I found
I
out.
love you so much.
I love you too. I found out this week, and why I never asked the question growing up. I don't think it ever really dawned on me. I thought there was a inkling of a chance that my mom didn't drink while she was pregnant with me. I thought my learning disabilities as a child was related to the childhood trauma I encountered. My mom passed away. I pretty much saw all of that when I was 7. Domestic violence was the thing. Alcohol in the house, but no food kind of situation is kind of how I grew up. So I got actual confirmation that I did have fetal alcohol syndrome. And it fucking floored me. I'm not going to lie. I was like stuck, but it explained literally everything to do with my academic early years. I don't know if that's the right word to say it, but like speech, I was delayed in my speech growing up. Reading, I didn't learn to read until I was 9. I had a huge stuttering problem. I lacked in almost every area academically. I was in a plethora of special classes and groups to help me with that. My aunt and uncle who raised me, they did a lot to try to bridge the gap between what I had versus what they could provide me with.
Can I ask a question? So that was all of the educational aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Where was, I mean, I don't know if you've looked into this part yet, but were you like small for your age, or?
I was underweight. Yes, I was underweight. I was underdeveloped. I had all of those facets about me.
So it was all over the place for you.
All over. It really was all over. You take that in conjunction with childhood trauma, it has a huge impact on like how you process information. But I think the core aspect is that fetal alcohol syndrome. So it goes to show that like in the research I did, I think it was 1 out of 20 kids suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome. 1 in 5 adults have fetal alcohol syndrome and don't know it, if I remember the statistic correctly. So that was a fascinating little thing about that when it comes down to we're cognitively how the brain is processing information, how important understanding that is. Um, you take that in conjunction with other mental health issues. That also has a deeper rooted thing inside the brain that allows processing of information.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what takes normal individual to process information, it takes me twice as long. I learned this when I was in college. I didn't never graduated, but the few classes I did take in college, it took me for every 1 hour of instruction period, it took me 2 hours. So I was studied twice as hard as your average quote unquote normal individual.
And with all of those signs and symptoms, unfortunately, without you asking, that can be easily just explained by the childhood trauma.
And that's exactly what I thought. And when I asked my aunt this, I was like, "Did she?" She's like, "Oh, you don't know." I was like, "I thought it was just because of the childhood trauma because I endured a lot of childhood trauma, so I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was just because of that." But it definitely, not to undermine it, but it definitely did have an aspect to it. So when it comes down to processing information in regards to media literacy, that has a huge impact, right?
Right.
Your environment. My environment growing up as a from birth to 7 years old was not the greatest, and then from 7 to uh, 15, I was in a very right wing household, very Christian household. Um, I couldn't even talk about politics. I have one specific memory where it was George Bush and Ronald Reagan. And at the time, I think I was like 12. I don't quote me. I don't know how when that time frame was and how old I was. I'm 33 now, so whatever rewind the clock, I don't know. I was in the back seat of the car and I remember we're all in the vehicle and I was like, "Hey, I think I like what Ronald Reagan says." Immediately, the moment oh, I was absolutely 12. uh, immediately my uncle was like, "No, we're George Bush household." That shut off any political, you know, opening the brain. So where you grow up in your household, where your household leans, if is politics talked about. To this day, we don't talk about politics. I think that's a crucial role to be able to at least, it's okay to have different opinions, but we should, as a quote unquote family unit, be able to have certain discussions.
Yeah.
And I think that's core. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to have these things, and those aspects have a value in which how we process information. It all goes down to psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Like how was perceiving political news, political takes perceived to you? Because all of that stuff is transitioned into the emotional and psychological thing between the brain and logical thinking. It's intertwined with each other. So, and
I
then you take
wonder.
in the aspect. Go ahead.
Sorry. It just kind of twisted my brain a little bit. I wonder how that all plays in the psychology of being Christian.
Hmm.
Mm.
Like, and
I,
what?
I I think you would have to like divide that into the ones who shove it down your throat versus the ones who just are.
That's
Right,
hard.
because
It really is hard to say. I think
because
it
there's
depends.
there's the different sects of Christianity. Christianity. There's some that are
Right.
more
Mm-hmm.
open than others, and then there's some like evangelicals that are fire breathing. Here's my Bible. You're gonna believe this shit, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're raised in that kind of household, what does that do to you psychologically to where
Oh,
you're more susceptible to the rhetoric that we're seeing currently?
I absolutely think that's what like all of this is like is so intriguing to me. Like the effect in what your environment is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Take the most recent situation with that with Charlie Kirk. Both his parents were had their religious belief, and he kind of fell into that, but he was in a whole other subcategory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's just like one example of many. So your environment has a core aspect to your brain and how you process, but then the word I'm looking for, words are complicated for me right now. You also have to account for what's going on globally,
Right.
what's going on locally, what's going on the news, what's going on here, because all of those things. What major event happened when 9/11 happened? What happened then? You know what I mean? When there was major protest or somebody got shot and it was all over the news, how was that perceived? Like, all of these things have huge
Space shuttle explosion.
Right, space shuttle explosion. All of these things, how it's portrayed and how we receive information is different. And this book that I'm reading, it goes specifically on like media, like as far as books go, but the same concepts can be applied to all forms of media. The World Economic Forum also has a thing on their website about media literacy. It's a 42-page document, so it is a little bit of a lengthy read, but it goes into that, especially in the day of age where we have AI.
Yeah.
Because it's getting, the more AI gets advanced, we're going to eventually get to that point where we're not going to be able to differentiate between real and fake. And I think now I might be a little bit late to the game as far as like, if you name a politician right now, I guarantee I will not know. If you name a historical event, I might know of the general idea, but because I slept in history class and I did not process that information the way I should have, I will not know what the fuck you're talking about. So I'm doing my own due diligence and becoming media literate by getting books and educating myself. And that's complicated for me because of my neurological disorder, because that neurological disorder has an impact on how I process information. And being aware of this on an individual basis is critical.
I have a stupid question for you. Well, maybe it's not a stupid question.
There's no stupid questions, but go ahead.
Oh no, I work in IT. There's stupid questions.
You're right. You're right. I'm not going to argue there.
So we already know that the fetal alcohol syndrome affects literally every aspect of you, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
What, in your opinion, do you think is the impact that might have had on your ability to cope with the childhood traumas?
Fuck. Man, listen.
I mean, good question, right? Like,
wow, that's like a Pandora's box right there.
That is a Pandora's box, because there was a point where, and I did a lot of research. I've looked into so many different things. I've been listening to different podcasts about fetal alcohol syndrome. And behavioral issues, substance abuse issues are very, very prominent with people with fetal alcohol syndrome, especially in the regards to acting out, per se. It is very, very, very prominent, in the developmental years and then going on into teenage years. I say it had a huge impact. I had a huge mental health issue, mental health crisis, suicidal tendencies, self-harm. You name it, I probably indulged in it. So it absolutely has a main aspect into like how I behaved, how I processed that information later on in life, because it was bad. Because I think at 13 is probably the age where it really took an effect, when puberty hit and things like that.
Oh yeah, we all become really super stupid at that age.
It came tenfold.
Right.
So much so that my aunt and uncle gave custody of me, and I was in the foster care system. So that's how bad it got. It got to the point where I could no longer stay with family probably because of my neurological disorder.
I would be curious, just because you're talking about the acting out. I know that ODD, it's called oppositional defiant disorder, is kind of a catch all when, you know, they can see that, you know, a juvenile is having issues and is acting out and all these other things, but it doesn't fit into any other puzzle piece. I would be curious to see what percentage of those have a
There,
connection to fetal alcohol syndrome, because
Yeah.
my daughter, she had been diagnosed with ODD, but she doesn't have fetal alcohol syndrome. So I'm not saying that all of them would,
mm,
but I'd be curious to see what percentage might.
that is a valid. I won't be able to say unless we did a quick search on it. Um, but in the research that I did, a lot, especially if you don't know your circumstance, if your biological parent drank with you or not, a lot. There's definitely at least like 6 different mental health diagnoses that are misclassified, that are misdiagnosed, I should say,
Mhm.
with other disorders. Bipolar being one, ODD is another one. There are a couple others as
I
well.
wonder if ODD is getting diagnosed correctly, but the treatment is wrong.
Perhaps, perhaps there, and that all goes down to there's so many different studies out there that are going on, and that's in some of these podcasts that I'm listening to, especially with adults. And I was listening to, there's a woman that actually has a podcast, fetal alcohol syndrome podcast, FASD podcast. Um, Forget what her actual name is. I'd have to look it up again, but um, she talked to somebody about that. That she took her daughter to the hospital. Her biological mother had drank, and she had this fetal alcohol syndrome, and she was having a crisis.
Mhm.
And the doctor was just like, no, you have this. And she's like, no, it's related to the fetal alcohol syndrome. So there's a lot of things in the medical industry, from what I've gathered based off of the research and what I'm hearing from other people that have this disorder, that there's not a lot of public knowledge on the aspect when it comes down to the medical field.
Right.
Because of the stigmatism to it. If you don't look like you have the disorder, that's a problem.
That's
Like
like saying that because somebody doesn't look disabled, they're not disabled.
there's certain facial characteristics that come along, and if you don't have the typical facial characteristics, like a thin lip or certain spacing between the eyes,
Yeah.
no, you know, this part of the whatever this part of the mouth is called right here is not flat, then you don't have it. But I'm like, there's so many other, there's fetal alcohol syndrome is similar to how autism is.
It's
And
a
the
spectrum.
aspect is that there's a spectrum, and
Mhm.
each has various causes. Some people cannot live independently based off of
Mhm.
the severity of it. Other people can. Um, so it's on a various of spectrum, and I think I mean I have to do more research on it, because now that I've become aware of it, it definitely is a thing. But it all ties into. I'll loop back, come back to my main point here, that I think where people can start is finding out your own educational background. How did you grow up? Did you grow up
Mhm.
healthy? Were your circumstances with your birth okay? Like, how was your environment? Because then that it really kind of helps you understand things in a bigger picture. I
Mhm.
don't hate my mom for drinking with me. She's passed now, so it's like I'm not hitting that. I'm not gonna hate on my aunt and uncle if they didn't provide me with X, Y, and Z services that they could
Right.
have. They did the best they could with what they had.
Yeah.
But knowing where you are, how you grew up is one way to start on your media literacy path. Then you can be like, okay, I know I have an issue retaining information. How can I do this? I'm a very auditory person, and visual person. I know that's way how I prefer to learn. Um, so I'm now getting this, and I just bought 2 books when it comes down to media literacy. I bought this book. What if I say the wrong thing? And then spiritual activism, to fight my own, media literacy problem, and history, and changing my own rhetoric and opening my own brain, because it isn't something that's going to happen by talking about it one time or two times or several times. This is an ongoing path that we need to be sure to open up dialogue. Being open to talk about things in a different aspect, especially with different people, that is the hardest part, is having a conversation, especially with people with different views, or even with someone you disagree with. Because that, being able to have a conversation with somebody that, even if you disagree with them on XYZ, that it opens up neurological pathways to try to find things that you can talk about. That's the end of my rant for now.
Well,
Somebody wants to say hi.
Hi. Hey, everybody. Hi. Hayden.
My mini me. I love you.
So that kind of goes back to my main topic, and this goes out to everybody, to you two and to our audience, to think about this. And I'd like to see comments in chat about this too. Where do you draw the line when you're talking to somebody of differing political views or stances or opinions or whatever? And it doesn't even have to be politics.
When it gets nasty.
Is it, if you're standing up for, say, basic human decency, is it worth risking your relationship with your family or your friends to stand up for those beliefs? Like,
yes,
it depends on what it is, really. I have two hard points. Don't be a racist, and don't be a homophobe.
Right.
I got a guy fired off my job because he blatantly said the N-word to me. He's like, "Oh, you get so offended if I say the N-word and the F-word." I'm like, you can fuck right off. So I made his ass get fired. I fucking made sure. I reported. I did all the shit I needed to do to get his ass off that fucking job. I'm not working with you. I refuse to absolutely work with somebody like that. I'm like, if you're going to blatantly tell me, you're going to say, "Oh, if I say the N-word, get the fuck out of here." That's my hard limit. I don't think that's ever okay in any type of context, any type of, like, it's not. Period.
For me, the hard limit is name calling of any kind. It doesn't matter if it's to me, if it's slurs, whatever. I'm sorry. Once you start that, what does mouth do?
Hurt your feelings.
Hurt your feelings. Because we ain't having that bullshit. I never let my kids do that. Even through most phases where kids would, call people names, even if, yes, they're kid, whatever. But I always made it clear to my kids that you don't have to agree with everything, but you have to at least be civil. There will not be name calling. And if people can't not do that, I ain't got no time for it. Evidently, they either weren't hugged enough as a child, or their mama didn't raise them right or something, because you don't do that.
right.
And I do think that it is worth standing up, because, and this might just be the mouthy side of me. It really might be, because my mom always said that was going to get me in trouble, but that's okay. I was always taught to speak for those who can't speak for themselves.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be offended on behalf of someone. However, if you're going to sit there and talk a bunch of shit about someone else or another group of people, I'm going to correct you. And I'm not going to have a problem correcting you. I don't care if you are black, white, yellow, purple with green polka dots. I don't care if you are 220 or 200. I don't care if you are male, female, or everything in between, or none of it. I don't care. If you have two lips and you're going to talk shit about somebody else, don't do it in my presence.
I take it, I think, a little bit a further step than most people. And it's the whole idea of if you support somebody who is constantly spewing violent rhetoric, you have no place in my life because I don't want a platform. I don't want to give space for that kind of rhetoric in my life.
Mm.
It doesn't need to be platformed.
No, you're right. I think this will not surprise anyone who knows me. I think one of the reasons that I don't like instantly boot people out until they start opening their mouth is because I have that I wish a bitch would, and at that point, like if they go off, I am well within my rights and nobody can complain.
I think
I
there's
am
a little bit of nuance of being able to determine when having a conversation with somebody who's not open to it is not worth the time anymore and you just cut them off.
yeah.
That's where the hard limit is right now. I have a family member that is very right wing, and it is extremely hard to want to have a conversation with him because every time we do talk, at some point I'm going to bring up something. I think the last time I spoke to this family member, I was like, yeah, there's this like protest thing happening here and I'm attending because like I don't like our president and this is my way of doing my civil duty of it in participating in protesting because that's my right.
Mhm.
And then he's
Right.
just all like, oh well, spew off this bullshit thing. Oh well, did you see a thing in LA and Walmart supplying the gas mask? I said, what? That's what you're believing. So I'm like, this was a while ago, back when like No King's Day was a thing, and I was like, I took him off of my Facebook so he can't see anything I post anymore, and
Yeah.
I'm working up the courage to tell him specifically the reason why I'm not going down to Florida.
Let me tell him. I'll tell him.
And no, it's my responsibility. The reason I'm not one of the main reasons. I mean, money is an issue, of course, but one of the main reasons why I don't think I'll go back to Florida for a good while is because of him. Because anytime I would go there, like I'm staying with family because it helps with, I'm staying there for like a week or 2 weeks. It saves on money, right? And
Mhm.
and I do like spending time with like my aunt. She's a little bit more reasonable to converse with, she's
Mhm.
more right center. I can have an actual conversation with her versus him I can't. And it's a really well known in the family that you just don't talk about certain topics. I'm like, we need to. That's where the problem lies. And if I can't have a conversation with you about something that's important, I don't want you in my life, and that sucks. And I don't know where I am with that. At what point do you cut people off? At
Yeah.
what point? And I think that's all on an individual basis. Like each individual person
Yeah.
has to come to that kind of consensus. At what point,
You have to decide where
is
your
it,
line in the sand is with that person.
right? And if it's just a friend, like a friend that has a particular view, that's a little bit more. That's different, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
friends can come and go, but like
Family's hard.
it's harder with
Mhm.
family. It really is because it pulls on certain strings, and I think that's another one of those things that are just like where I don't think I can specifically say I could draw a line with right now. At least not right now.
Mhm.
Um,
And I've always been a believer that you have to let people make their own decisions about those lines. You can't influence it. I mean, a prime example is my daughter and her biological father. I could not influence it in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
I needed to completely remain neutral, because that way, if the relationship flourished or failed, it was going to be on his connection with her.
Yep.
Mm.
And I mean, y'all know where the hell that's going. Um, but I mean, that's with any relationship that she has, or the people that are around me. I can, if people are adults, I can voice my opinion, but when they're teens or under, I'm absolutely not. I'm going to just support that individual,
Yep.
and keep everything I've got to say neutral.
Mhm.
I did the same thing with my daughter and her bio dad. It was, if she asked about him, I would just talk about the good things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't mention any of the other stuff that happened. I would
Mm-hmm.
just mention, hey, he liked doing this, or you're just like him because he loved this, just like you do. That kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so when she reached out to try and form a relationship with him, she went in with basically a blank slate. She didn't know much. She just knew that we didn't have a
Right.
relationship anymore. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
tell her why or anything that happened because it's none of her business.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need to know. And she emailed him, sent him a message, say, "Hey, I'd really like to get to know you better." I mean, she was like 14 at the time. And right off the bat, he was defensive and saying things about me like, "Oh, you probably heard bad things about me from your mother," that kind of thing. And I'm just sitting here like,
Takes all kinds, remember?
and with within about, I want to say, a couple of weeks of them emailing back and forth, they only emailed back and forth even like 3 or 4 times, and then he just ghosted her.
Mm.
And that's when I introduced her to her half sibling, and they got to know each other. And that's where she got the real information about who her father is, and not from me,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't my place to form that opinion for her.
Here's the thing:
It's
kids are really smart. Kids are really smart.
Mm-hmm.
they really are.
At a young age, they are able to pick up on a lot. My son is extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
He's able to. He has eyes. He's got ears. He can see what's right and
Mm-hmm.
wrong, even from a young age. Like
Yeah.
kids know. Rather, you know, I mean, in an ideal world, I mean, yes, you try to not, talk bad about the other parent and things like that. But they have eyes and ears. They
Yep.
know how. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like, my husband and I were very careful not to talk about my ex in front of my daughter, because when we'd have conversations about him, it could go into territory that she didn't need to necessarily see or understand at that point.
Yep. I totally understand that.
Yeah, so we were very careful, just like you, about trying to make sure that we're not forcing an opinion or an
There were
experience
there were
on
many
another
times that she
person.
came home and she would be really meek, and I'd be like, "Are you okay, honey? Do you need to talk?" And she would say something along the lines of, "Yeah, I need to think first." And because I always made it clear that you don't always have to know what to say, but if you tell me that you do want to say something, you got to think about it. That's okay too. At least then I know. Um, and I'm trying to raise emotionally intelligent children. Sometimes it's not easy in today's world. Um,
So hard. So hard.
um, I remember one specific instance. Um, she came home. She was like 9, maybe 10, and she was very bothered and very hurt by things that she had heard over her weekend visit at her bio dad's. And evidently, He had told her that I had built the whole divorce on lies, and proceeded to tell her every bullet point of my restraining order against him, which involved things that no child should be hearing about their parents. And then he proceeded to tell her why each bullet point was a lie.
Wow. Yeah, it's a big bunch of nope in my book.
And
Holy
I had
fuck.
to I had to keep a straight face. I deserve a cookie for all that bullshit, because I had to keep a straight face. And I remember looking at her and going, "Honey, I'm sorry. I am sorry that your dad said all of those things to you. Regardless of what was said, it's got nothing to do with you. None of that has anything to do with you."
Yep.
Well, but is it true? I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's true what he said or if it's true what I said. None of it has anything to do with you. You don't need to be involved.
Yep.
These are adult matters, first of all, but these are also matters between two people who were in a relationship.
Yep.
And that doesn't have to be broadcast to anyone.
When I got temporary full-time custody of my son, which I technically still do, and that's not going to change anytime soon. His father would, you need to tell your mom this, you need to do this, your mom is doing this, and my son would get like clammy, and I could hear it in his voice. And he'd get off the phone, and I would have to have these talks with him where I'm all like, your dad doesn't talk to me. We don't talk at any given point. We haven't had a normal discussion in quite a long time. I said, if your dad brings this up, you just have to tell him that's between my mom and you, not me. You got to keep me out of that. He said, but Mom, I'm scared. She's like, what? I'm like, what is he going to do? You live in Missouri now with me. What's he going to do? He's like, yeah, you're right. And so he got the courage to actually like tell his dad this. And it changed his perspective. And there are things he's curious about. And I'm like, listen, when you're 18, I have 3 binders, text receipts and all, that you can read, and you can gather your own opinion after you have all that information. But right now, all I'm concerned about is you being in a stable environment, being a normal kid. If you want to game and have friends there and like go to this after school program and make connections, I would rather you focus on that than focus on what drama your dad and I had in the past.
Yep.
Like, well, I want you guys to get along. I'm like, unfortunately, there's a stigmatism in that, and I have to pay the price. I fall in the statistic of the rate of fatherless children. That is a huge statistic. I fall in that line. There's nothing I could specifically do about it except try my best, to provide him with this environment. So I have to teach him certain things. There's certain things I do tell him, but I don't tell him everything. I don't tell him the hardcore details. I'm like, Alex, at this point, I just want you to call your dad, hang out with him, play video games with him, bond with him whenever you feel like you are okay with it. That's up to you. Whatever relationship your father and I had, that's null and void. It will never happen. And I'm sorry that you have to grow up in this. And if you want to hate me later in life, you can. I will not fault you for that, because I had a part in that. I played a part. I have a major role in why he has lived the life he has lived. Because it's preventable. At the time, like there's so many things that women can do, between selecting your partners appropriately, vetting somebody, birth contraceptives, you know what I mean? Like there's a variety of things that could, even after I got pregnant, there's obviously options. Like I selectively made that decision to keep in my life. And a lot of women have this issue, and I get Man, I'll just say this. You know how much hate I got from women because I make that statement. If
Why? Because they're upset because they didn't think about it.
I had a friend, and rest her soul, she got hit by a drunk driver, but her and I got into a huge argument because she had 4 different kids by 4 different baby daddies who lived off the food stamps, who, got free everything. And her whole thing was the moment she found somebody attractive or met her woo, you know what I mean? Like, it was all for it and no birth control, no nothing, and then there you go, you have a baby. And she's like, "Well, they never play child support. They never do this." I'm like, one of them just came out of prison. One of them has a rap sheet from No Tomorrow. One is homeless. Like, you knew these individuals going into it. You
Tell her
made
to hold a dime between her knees.
the decision to have a child with them. Just like in my situation, I knew my son's father for 3 months before we started having unprotected sex. 3 months later, boom, I'm knocked up. And I was 18. I was literally still a baby, myself. Like,
Yeah.
all of these things have a huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
I was 26 when I got pregnant with,
Mm.
and I did not have the emotional maturity to be pregnant, even at 26.
It was hard. It was hard. The first 2 years, I was not I didn't think the same way as I do now when it comes down to parenting and co-parenting. I was very vindictive. I was very, well, if you don't pay me child support money, I was that person.
Yeah.
Then I had like a aha moment. And even now, I tell my son, even now, that's still your dad. I don't have to like him. That's not like, but he's your dad. He has
Yep.
he's never abused you. He's never put his hands on you. Like, that's always be your father. But when it comes down to, like, I'll circle into like how I was raised versus how my son was raised. Yes, he's moved around a lot. That has a main factor on his emotional well-being. But let me tell you what I did do right. And I take huge pride in this. At 4 years old, my son knew how to read. He knew how to, like, at that age appropriate, like 3-letter words, 4-letter words. He knew how to skip count. He knew how to add and subtract. He knew how to,
That's fucking phenomenal.
do math,
That's amazing.
3-digit math. I was like, I struggled so hard in my adolescence. I was like, you're not going to have this fucking problem ever, ever. My son's favorite subject is math. That's typically very, on par with where he's at. The one subject I never succeeded in was writing. However, what he does do well is creative writing,
Yes.
creative storytelling. He has a very vivid imagination. He's always been that type of way. And he's been writing this, like, book series, I don't fucking know, that he wants to eventually get published. I'm all like, do it,
That's amazing. That sounds like my daughter. She's been trying to write a manga for a while.
Yeah. And I hope he really goes somewhere with it. And I tell him, so when you're ready, let me know. And I'll if you want to have that book published,
I know how to do it.
I'll make it happen.
You got connections.
If that's what's going to get you into writing, 100, I'm down for it. I'll pay whatever money I need to pay to get that to happen. Like this, it just goes to show, like, where my son is versus where I was. You know what I mean? Like, him and I were having a discussion. He's like, "Mom, I'll never do drugs." I'm like, "Good. You need to be aware of these things now. Like, you're at this age where people around you might start smoking weed. People around you might start." He's like, "No, Mom. Mm-mm. Nope. I'm like, good, because
My daughter is the
runs deep in
same
the
exact
family.
way.
My kid, the smart ass, when I take her somewhere, like if I take her to work or I take her to school, whatever, I always tell her, make good decisions. Hugs, not drugs. Okay.
Without drugs.
Yep.
This bitch.
Yeah, like my daughter
She'll,
turns
she'll go.
21
What if
next
they're
year.
free?
What if they're free? Listen, if it's a little of the Mary Jane, you can bring some home to mom, okay?
Right? Right?
She has said that before. She's like, I'll bring it home to you, Mom. Damn. And then so there's this whole spiel I usually do, make good decisions, do not add to or subtract from the population. And if you get caught and end up in jail, establish dominance quickly. So anytime I've said that to her, this is gonna surprise all y'all. She'll go, yes, pee on them. That is how she is going to establish dominance quickly. She will just pee on people.
Oh my gosh.
I watched this whole thing when it comes down to asserting dominance or whatever. There's this whole thing where it's like, oh, if you don't want like somebody hitting on you or something, like you got to do something crazy and out the wall, like.
Oh yeah. I've seen a
Have
couple
you,
TikToks
like-
of that where like this woman is walking down the street in New York and these guys were like all trying to get up on her, right? And she puffs out and starts screaming at him, dude, ah! And running right at him, and they just turn around and start running away. It was so funny.
like
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
that it should totally be a trend, like just doing that, like, oh yeah, there's a whole like maybe I can. What's your blood type? Oh that. Oh well, I'd probably do some stuff about that. Maybe you should come over. I want to run some experiments, and maybe like get some of your eye fluid. I got these needles I need to test out. That will scare people.
Here's one for you.
Go ahead.
So, it's only murder if they find a body. Until then, it's a missing persons.
Yep.
Anyway, I've got some things I want to show you. Can you come over here for a minute?
Right?
Or you could do the whole like, what's your blood type? You would taste great with some rosemary.
Yeah.
Chianti and some nice fava beans.
You can do the whole Hannibal Lecter thing and just make it creepy as fuck. The reason why we don't have as many female serial killers that we know of is because they don't get caught.
Exactly.
Right. There's a whole thing that women are smarter a little bit, We're a little more, we get to like planning and really like, cause when we really want to off somebody, at least from what I've heard in different stories, like women get a little like, we get a little like, build up years of like pent up aggression and vendetta and be like, I'm gonna fucking, it's gonna build up.
Oh my gosh. So that brings up a question that I want to ask.
What's that?
If your life was directed by Quentin Tarantino versus Wes Anderson, how different would it look?
Okay, repeat that because I did not follow.
If your life was directed by Quentin Tarantino versus Wes Anderson, both horror, okay, how different would your life look like?
There'd be more drugs.
I'm gonna be fair. This all goes down to media literature because I don't know who any of them are. You'll have to give me a reference point.
Okay, Quentin Tarantino,
Give me a movie or something.
Kill Bill.
Okay. All right.
Wes Anderson is brain went blank. The Grand Budapest Hotel, the Royal Tenenbaums. No?
What's his
Let me
name?
see if I
Bill
can find another one.
Bill what?
There would be more drugs,
What's his
more
name?
boobs.
Bill what?
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm looking up his bibliography. Squid and the Whale, Ratcatcher, The Life Aquatic.
I would absolutely have a better wardrobe.
To his face.
A better
this is
wardrobe?
Me,
Yeah.
This is me
Yeah.
looking at the list. I know literally none of these movies.
Wow. Okay.
Do you like to read? Nope, never read. Seen that. Uncropped, Sling 2. The Squid and the Whale. What the fuck? Nope. I'm sorry.
Rushmore, American Express,
Rushmore?
SoftBank commercial, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
No. I'm sorry. I do not know that filmmaker or any of his movies. Oh, he's
Okay.
written some books too. Nope, never seen any of those books either. This also ties into media literacy.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think Wes Anderson is kind of like an acquired taste. He's very niche, I think.
I think the overview says on. Hold on. Known for, yeah. Grief, loss of innocent and dysfunctional families. That's the themes he usually.
Yeah, the Isle of Dog. I'm looking through his list, and I think I've only seen 2, maybe 3.
Oh, that's an interesting term on the description, the overall description. I learned a new word. Hold on, me. Auteur. That's a weird word. On his overview, it says due to this film's distinctive and visual narrative style and frequent use of ensemble cast, critics have called Anderson as an
Ingenue.
auteur. Sorry, I had to use Google pronunciation because how words that goes into my cognitive thing. I have an issue pronouncing words. So having technology is great. I wish I would have had this like growing up, where I could just get the pronunciation correct.
Right.
And if you don't know what that word means, I did not. Is a filmmaker whose personal influence and artistic control over a movie that is so great that a filmmaker is regarded as the author of a movie.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
He writes most of the scripts for his movie.
Noted.
Like nearly all of them.
I have a question for y'all.
Okay.
I might have an answer for you.
Oh my! I got purred at, growled at, whatever that was. Are we on book talk?
I mean, I do have a few of my manuscripts.
Can we just do good girl?
Good girl.
Good girl now.
Oh God, Pab. Yes, Pulp Fiction. Phenomenal.
That was the movie I was looking for. Pulp Fiction is amazing.
I have seen. I have seen Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen Kill Bill as well, though. For me, Kill Bill was.
It was weird.
It was not my cup of tea when it comes down to the movie, but I did love Pulp Fiction though.
Okay, so here's my question.
Okay.
Question.
You're on an airplane.
Mm.
Would you rather have the seat between an arguing couple, or would you rather be stuck next to a crying baby?
The couple, without a doubt. I am nosy as fuck. I love watching other people's drama. I
I mean, I'll just be sitting there like,
I would be
Uh,
sitting there texting my friends and doing voice recordings, capturing what they're saying to each other and sending it to them.
That's so bad.
look,
That's
at least
so-
now I know I got to call Jess if I'm ever on a plane in this situation.
Do any of you follow Iron Sanctuary on TikTok at all?
That name sounds
think so.
really fucking
He's
familiar.
he's a weightlifter and really really funny dude. Long red beard.
Yes, because he is funny.
He's fucking hilarious. This week, he's been posting about local drama in his town and giving the deets on everything that's been happening with a local hair salon.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
Gosh.
and it's been so funny to watch. And he's like, "So here's what's going on now. This is the update." And I'm sitting here just dying. I'm like, "Give me more."
I'm going to admit here, I do partake in a little bit of gossip. I try. There's times where I'll be like, I'm not gonna get involved. I'm like, well, I don't really know what would have happened, but like, what'd she say? Like, so what's the tea?
What's the tea?
I will fully admit, this might be the years of being around drag queens, and I don't care. I ain't mad at it. But I remember I was probably 25-ish, and I heard a drag queen say, "Honey, Mama always said don't say anything bad out loud. So come sit by me and you can whisper."
That's funny.
I was like, "Oh damn!"
I think it depends on who I'm with. When I'm with you guys, 100%, 100%, because we have a good mesh of personality type where we'll be like, "Hey, I got some tea. I got something for you."
I got something for you, and ooh, he's a doozy.
Yeah, like, oh, did you see this thing that they posted? We were on that
Oh, that's funny.
for a good minute. We were in our own little tea bundle for a minute. It
He
was
totally shares screenshots and links and
oh my god, we
commentary.
were hard fucking core. We're like, we're on drama talk. For sure. We're like, oh, this person said this. Oh, this person left? No way. Why'd they leave? What was the thing they said? Oh my god. What was this person's response? Oh my god. That's so crazy.
And then we start speculating, which is so much fun because you
It
really
is
don't
so
know
much
the
fun.
answer.
Yes.
But speculating can be a lot of fun because you can come up with some really wild fucking stories that happened.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Very much so.
Yeah, they're
Maybe that should be my niche. That I can branch out and do my own little podcasts of helping people with their creative writing based all on gossip.
I think that would be awesome.
For sure.
I was just
I mean,
sitting here thinking that if I died and became a ghost, how much gossip I could get.
Oh god. Yeah.
Okay, like, so if you go before me, you're gonna at least stop by and say hi, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I'm gonna come
knock
over.
on all your
I'm gonna flip on your water faucet just for the hell of it to fuck with you.
Okay.
Slam some doors, maybe do some shit to kind of spook you a little bit.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
gonna be
go
like,
spook
oh,
me.
whatever, it's Jess. And then I'm gonna go over to Ellie's house and I'm gonna just her flag behind her, just kind of make it move gently. She'll be going, what is going on there?
Jess is going to stand real close behind one of us and just go, shh, let it happen.
My thing has always been like noises,
Mhm.
especially weird noises outside. So living in the city, occasionally I have to do this thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you know. If you know kind of thing. Like you just have to be like, oh, what the hell is that? And then you have to just sit here and just keep doing what the fuck you're doing. And then once you think that whatever's happened done, then you're like, all right, cool.
I mean, I live in the country and I still have to do that. Like,
There was an occasion, what the first place I moved to was not necessarily the greatest area. So much so that I could not necessarily leave the house at night. I didn't have a car to go to the corner store that was like a block and a half away. In retrospect, like because of the environment, like you get the guy that stands outside and he's always asking you for money, or what the fuck they're trying to do. Like you're just there, and I got to a point where they recognize me, I recognize them. I'm like, I don't carry cash. They know I don't carry cash. I'm like, listen, bud, like you want something to eat? Like, don't shoot me, please. Like, don't rob me. I don't have cash, but I'll get you something to eat. What do you want? I don't care. Money's not the issue here. You want a cigarello? I'll buy you a cigarello. And that usually gets me some points. But the last week I lived there, I was at my desk. I was gaming, and I heard some commotion. So I did one of these, and then it got louder, and I heard a couple pops, and I do the nosy thing, and I peep out my fucking window, and there's a black Escalade. All the doors are open, and everyone was out of their vehicle, guns drawn and everything, at the neighbor across the street. So like being from an area that's not normal, it was a culture shock. I'm literally not lying. It was like I had people like that lived here. They're like, it's normal. Just
just relax.
So,
just chill.
have I told you guys about my experience when we first moved to Indianapolis?
You've told us a little bit,
A
but
little bit.
do tell us more.
Okay, so I moved from small town Utah to one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Indianapolis on the east side.
Of course you did.
And if you know anything about Indianapolis and the east side, you know just how dangerous it is. Our house was a mile away from one of the most deadly corners in the entire city. Okay. So the way Indianapolis operates as far as violence goes, it depends on what street you live on and not necessarily the specific neighborhood that you're in.
Yep.
Okay. So when we moved there, they did the inspection on the house that we were buying. And when we got the report about the roof, there were bullet casings lodged into the shingles of the roof.
Jeez.
That's Indy.
Is that from like people shooting up and the bullets landing down?
Possibly.
Because
I have
that's
no
the thing
idea.
that people do here is that people shoot their guns up in the air, not thinking about how gravity works and how it comes down and hits on people's roofs. Or people can shoot like
it's possible. It's possible it was that. So we got the roof replaced, and our first week there, I learned to differentiate between semi-automatic fire and fireworks. I learned to differentiate between the two. So now, when I hear fireworks, I know exactly what it is. And when I hear gunfire, I know exactly what it is. There's no confusion now. None.
It's a little bit different in the city, at least for me. I can definitely that was definitely a thing here for sure. Like when the first year I was here, I was like, is that a firework or is that like depending on where it is in retrospect. And in the neighborhood I was, there was this guy 2 blocks away, like within a, I don't know how much of a radius, but a pretty decent radius, where almost like clockwork every 3 days would shoot.
Yep.
Like that was the thing. Every 3 days, you can almost around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, pop, 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 pop. And that was it. Just quick 5 little round, pop, 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 pop. You know, neighborhood I live in now, you can still hear it, but it's a little bit more farther away. So getting to where things are in distance and retrospect has a factor. Now I can definitely tell, depending on mostly where I am, I'll be like, especially on like major holidays. It can get hard sometimes. You're like, is that a? It's illicit.
Okay, so
see, I live out in the country where like surrounding me is green. Okay, like I'm gonna live bumfuck nowhere. And major holidays, I have neighbors that not only shoot fireworks, but they also fire off guns, and that can be any day of the week, any time of the day or night. And so I just got to the point where it's just like, oh, rednecks being rednecks. Like, there's nothing else I can say to that. Like, there is going to be some sort of explosion, whether or not it's for a firework or for a bullet. I don't know. Either way, and they're, oh my God, they are a constant source of entertainment.
Very much so.
Oh, they have a goat that screams at you?
Yeah.
So, you know, one aspect.
There would be kids that would drive up and down the street on holidays, like on 4th of July, jump out of the cars, raise their semi-automatics into the air. We're talking like fully semi-automatic kind of thing.
Jeez,
and just fire them straight into the air, hop back in the car, and keep driving.
What I don't understand is, why not just shoot it in the ground? I think it's the like visual aspect of doing this thing compared to just shooting.
It is. Well, they would do this. They'd raise it up in the air.
Well, no. Also, if they shoot down, they're gonna risk shooting themselves in the foot.
Ricochet.
And yeah, and they're not bright to begin with.
You're right about that.
Yeah, they're not. And we also had the experience of, there was a police chase that happened. They drove into our neighborhood and barricaded themselves in a house in a circle that was half a block away from our house. So we felt the percussions of when they did the grenades into the house.
Wow. Oh yeah.
You can feel it, like the air just was like, holy fuck.
Depending on the size, I think the farthest away that I've ever heard is they can be felt or heard like 5 blocks away.
Yeah. And then a year later, a house 3 down doors from us, I was coming back from picking up our dinner, and I could not get into our neighborhood because the cops had it completely blocked off. So I had to sit there and wait. So an hour later, when they finally opened it up and I could drive in, they had busted down the door. Like, the door was completely gone. And as I was driving by, they were loading a guy into the back of the car. And I was just like, holy fuck, this is just nuts.
Insane.
That's nuts, yeah.
And when you grow up in an area where you're not used to that kind of thing, like you said, it's a culture shock.
It really is a culture shock. And you know,
it's terrifying.
It can be absolutely 100% terrifying. You know, Chris, you were saying, like, you know, being out in the country, and there's definitely that gunfire versus firework kind of thing. I've been in the country before too. It just goes to show too that typically, not all the time, typically people who are more right wing are more on the countryside. It's very true over here, typically. Hence why most of Missouri is red state, because it's a lot of country folks. Very, aka the moment you leave the city, it becomes meth head city. Very prominent. Guns are everywhere. The one major factor between the two, the only major factor between the two, there's a higher density of guns per square mile than there would be in the country.
Yeah.
And that's the part that, like, it's just baffling me. Like, all right, so people in the country can have guns and shoot them off at any point in town. 'Cause when I lived in the country, it was like a cascading effect. Once one person starts shooting off their gun, Joe down the street, he's gonna pull
Oh
out
yeah.
his. Then you have the neighbor across the way that's gonna go do it. It's because
Oh, and they try to get louder.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
You know, and sometimes it might happen here. Sometimes there, depending on the time, it's gotten, from what I've been told, I don't know, I'm not from here, it has gotten a little bit better. I don't know if the chain reaction necessarily is the same here. um from what I told him, it might be, but there's definitely way more guns here than there is there. But no matter where you are, there will always be guns.
Mhm.
You know, they
Well,
think the
and
left doesn't have guns. Like, oh,
well,
the left is just trying to take away the guns, but like, come into a left-leaning city, I guarantee you're gonna find a lot of guns. We'll
I'm a
probably
card
have
carrying
more
member of the
guns.
CCW clan,
We'll
so I
probably
mean,
have
I'm just
more
saying.
guns than people in the country do at a greater scale.
Well,
Come fucking St. Louis. I fucking dare you.
and
One thing
one of the
that
things that, at least about Ohio, um, I don't know about other states because I've only had to deal with Ohio. Ohio, in order to get a CCW, which, I mean, almost everybody's going to a constitutional carry now, but in order to get a CCW, you have to take classes, and you have to go through specific things in order to get your CCW. And
not in
so,
Indiana.
no,
Not in Missouri either, which I think
um,
is really fucked up. I think more people should have to take classes and
right.
get yourself legal, like do the things the right way.
Well, and the one thing that, at least, like I said, with Ohio, there are more states that have reciprocity with Ohio than any other state because of that. And for those who don't know what reciprocity is,
Thank you.
as a CCW person, concealed carry weapons permit. The states that do have reciprocity, my CCW license will qualify me in those states as well.
Right.
I think it's all but 13. 13 states do not have reciprocity with Ohio. New York doesn't have reciprocity with anybody. Neither does California. Because, well, New York and California.
I don't know if Florida's the same way or not.
So
New York, Jersey, and California usually have some very, very it's not even just that they're limiting, they're just very weird laws in regards to firearms. Like the number of bullets that can be in the clip, the magazine, anything at once, and it's usually less than what it'll hold. I don't understand that. So in order to have anything in those states, you actually have to have a special little thing that gets inserted that will not allow more than the legal limit. So yeah, like those states are just weird, and they'll never have reciprocity with anybody else because no one will have their laws as strict as those states. But
so
yeah.
Utah and Indiana are permitless for concealed and open carry. But Utah does have they do have a CFP that you can get that does have the I can't even say the word. Reciprocity.
Reciprocity. Reciprocity.
I have to see it.
Reciprocity. Thank you. Yeah, I struggle with pronunciations too, Ellie, and it's because I was such a bibliophile that I didn't hear their words, but I read them.
Well, you also have that hearing loss thing.
Yeah.
Hard of hearing.
I also have hearing loss, so that ties into it too. One
well,
thing that I
with that word, I've had to say it enough times.
Yeah,
This is
I probably will never say that word ever again in my life. Probably
I'm
not.
gonna
So,
I'm gonna add this to my
one point that I did
vocabulary
want to bring
words.
up was the fact people bring up the gun violence in cities quite a bit and
Mhm.
how much there's more violence in cities in general. And the
Mhm.
one thing that they don't take into account is population density. So of course
Mm-hmm.
there's more
Yep.
violence because there's more people per square mile than there are who live out in the country. And
Yes.
it doesn't mean that violence doesn't happen in the country.
It's just
My
spread out
little
more.
It's just spread out more. We just
Mhm.
had somebody here in my little town in southern Utah get arrested for being a child predator.
Mm.
Okay, so those kind of things happen here. We also have gun violence. In the town
Mhm.
that we used to live in northern Utah called Grantsville, um, when my daughter was in high school, one of her friends who is older than her, a year older than her, stayed home from school one day and
Oh no.
as his mom and his siblings got home, he killed them.
Wow.
And when his father got home, he injured his father, but his father was able to talk him down without killing him. And we still don't know what the motive is. He's alive. He was just sentenced. Um, he was tried as an adult because he was 16 at the time.
Mhm.
His oldest brother was away at college and found out about this on social media.
Wow.
Oh God.
No, has
Mm-mm.
there been anything released on family dynamic? Was family dynamic? Were they
Let me
religious background or political background, anything like that? Has anything like that been released yet? Probably not, 'cause it's something I
let me
just.
pull up.
And
There's a
you know,
whole Wikipedia on this. Um,
y-
so after all of this happened, my daughter and her friends had to go through therapy and all of this. I mean, it just rocked the entire community. Um, the name
mhm,
of the
I bet.
the name of the child who did this is Colin Jeffrey Haney. His name he goes by CJ.
Mhm.
He killed his mother and three siblings and injured his father. It was the
Mm.
deadliest mass shooting in Utah since 2007's Charlie Square shooting.
Hmm.
And yeah,
And regardless of how people feel about guns, uh, they're here. They're going to stay. Like they have been here literally since the founding of this country. Um, and as someone who does have no issue with my Second Amendment rights, I still think that there needs to be some changes with guns. However, a lot of people will talk about gun reform. Gun reform. We need more laws. How about we fix the ones that we have and stop letting the good old boy system work? That is probably in some areas the biggest problem in regards to guns and gun violence.
the difference in laws between states contributes
Oh,
massively to this.
oh yeah.
You know, people bring up Chicago all the time as having some of the strictest gun laws in the country, but they have some of the most violent gun incidents, right?
Mhm.
And the reason for that is because they get their guns from fucking Indiana, which is a 30-minute drive from downtown Chicago. And people don't
Oh yeah,
realize this.
because criminals totally will follow the laws regardless of what you put down.
In fact, the city of Chicago filed a lawsuit against several of the gun dealerships in Indiana for selling guns for state transport. Like there was a whole lot of background dealing. The ATF was involved in
Mm.
ignoring federal law in Indiana to allow these purchases to happen.
So
It's see, that's exactly the shit that I'm talking about. You know, it it does not matter how many laws you have or you create or you put into place. If you are going to have the good old boy system go, well, you know, that there is Tommy's boy and he's a good boy and I think he's all right. It ain't gonna matter. Or, you know, like in some states where inheritance is an issue when it involves firearms. There are I know if I did the searching, I could probably find you exact instances, but I have heard probably well over a dozen specific instances over the years where someone in law enforcement in that area, be it city, county, whatever, got in trouble because instead of following the proper channels for the transfer of the firearms as part of the estate, they just let them get transferred. And that is probably one of the biggest issues. Like, yes, a criminal is going to get a firearm regardless. If they want a firearm, where there's a will, there's a way.
Even in states where firearms are the strictest, like a criminal is going to find a weapon regardless of what it is.
Right.
I have, you know, and then what I'm going to say is not a like all people who do this are in this bracket. Years ago, I did some hard research. This is around the time where I changed my parenting style. I opened my eyes up on my own parenting things and the whole like I have a part in why my son's growing up in this the way we are. The rise of the rise of fatherless children.
Yeah.
There's a very strong rate in mentally ill children who are more prone to violence, more prone for gun violence, more prone for mental health issues in relation to there not being a father figure. Obviously, there are factors that go into this, like domestic violence, things like that. I'm not going to include this in this. I'm going to take a broad scope of individuals. I have to say that because it's important to note that.
Oh yeah.
There is a really large statistic in that relation. And a lot of people don't really want to point that out. A lot of people do not want to put those two together. When you take fatherless children and then relate them back to how we are as a society as a whole, not just with gun violence, but with just mental health issues in general, how we are as a society going, it's a factor. It is a large factor that we as a society need to focus on.
I'm wondering if a lot of it has to do with the fact that, especially here in the United States, we don't have community.
Very much
specifically so. As white people, we don't have community.
That's a good
outside of church.
That is a problem.
Like we're so focused as a society as making money and upholding capitalism that we don't have the bandwidth or the capability to have community with our neighbors.
And that is so sad. That really is. I mean, I am glad that in the community that we are in, there, at least with the schools, there is I don't want to call it a tight sense of community, but there is a amazing sense of community with these people.
Okay.
And I wish that more communities had it.
Yeah. You know, when I moved to St. Louis, everyone was always like, "Why the fuck would you want to move to St. Louis?" And I'm like, "Listen,
I mean, I
I'm
said
not
that about people
I
who go to Ohio.
right. I'm like, I don't want to say that I've never seen racism here. I've never seen discrimination here or anything like that. But I have found way more of a community aspects, togetherness than I ever did in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, when I it was I'm it was completely eye-opening for me. I'm like, "Holy shit. I feel like I can actually be my fucking self for once."
Right.
I feel like I can talk with people here. I can feel welcome. It doesn't matter where I'm at, even in an area where it's typically rough,
Hmm.
I still feel like, oh, like yeah, that's a community. You know what I mean? Like I respect it. There was none of that where I came up. Everyone was forced to stay segregated. Everyone was like in their little section. There was no sense of community. It does not exist. At least where I grew up, that small little town I grew up in, not fucking there. Tell
Yeah.
you that now. It is the most racist fucking state you could ever fucking be in. It is
I actually have a friend who lives in Florida, and yeah.
sickening. Absolutely sickening. Especially with in regards to Hispanics.
Yeah.
Like holy shit. The amount of racism there is
And you know the whole issue with community, like that you have in areas like that. Here's your funny story as far as small communities go. So I was at the store with my daughter one day, and I didn't see where the hell she went. So I've done this since my kids could talk. Marco,
Polo.
that's what we do. I stay put, and they follow the Marco. Okay, that's how they get to me. Well, my daughter came around the corner. She goes, Polo. One of the store workers was like 10 feet behind her or whatever, also yelled Polo. Okay. So that was funny. Great. No problem. We kept chopping. We did some other stuff. That same worker saw us a little bit later. She yelled Marco. And we went, Polo. And now, every time she sees my daughter at the store, she will run behind to be able to peek at her behind, from the aisle. And she'll go, Marco.
That's funny.
Like,
That's
she don't even
adorable.
know who my kid really is. But it's just that silliness that you get in a community. Well, you should have in a community. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
The community here in southern Utah where I live is predominantly around the LDS church. So, not being
say no
part of
more.
that, not being part of that, you're immediately ostracized,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
And then you bring in the political cultism into this,
Mm.
and it's even worse. So it's hard being in communities like this and not have that community because people like you are silenced and forced into hiding because you live in
Mm.
a community that upholds white supremacy and violence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm at right now. That's also why my daughter doesn't live with us. She's up north, staying with family up there, and she has more opportunity and more safety living in a large city with diversity
Right.
versus down here where they have strong strong ties with the Oath Breakers,
Mm.
with the Proud Boys. Like they have training camps here in southern Utah.
Ugh.
So when everything went down with Kirk and the shooter Tyler, I'm sitting here going, well, where he lives, where this kid grew up, this is the kind of environment he grew.
Mm.
So it's something to keep in mind when people talk about Utah in general. There's a reason why it's 95% white or over
Yeah.
90%, and
Mm.
it's horrible. And Idaho's the same way. In fact, Idaho's even worse.
Mm.
So yeah, when it comes to your community here, it's really hard to form it
Oh, I
because
bet.
you don't know who is going to be safe and who is not. And if there is a person who is a minority living in this area, it's even more difficult for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't envy them in the slightest. And if I ever run across a minority, which is rare outside of Hispanics, and even then it's rare, I always do my best to be open. I don't know how to say this, but to physically be open to them so they know that I
Welcoming.
am
Right.
physically here
Responsive.
if they need somebody.
Right.
And it's not even verbally saying anything. It's about how you walk, how you look at them, how you interact with them to make them feel safe.
Yep.
Mm.
So I do my best here. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
very isolating to be here. I know of trans people who live in the area, and I've been trying to reach out to them to try and form community with them
Mm.
and the local Democrats because that's basically it for the party down for political parties. And even then, they're kind of clamping in hard on themselves now too because the threat of violence that we're facing right now is just
Insane.
and it's dangerous down here and I can't even fathom just how much worse it is for a person of color to and I have intersections with marginality but nothing compared to that that's so visible.
Right.
Get a
Mm.
chance look up the Delmer Divide and Meacham Park. Okay, I will write that down.
Yeah. It's just, that the environment that you're in, Jess, is just, and in the overall state, not just in your state, but
Yeah,
the level of threat in these types of communities where there's predominantly white people, predominantly very cult classic type of environments. Where do we draw the line? How do we start the conversation to break that? You know what I mean? Like, this is the psychological questions, the theoretical. I'm looking for the right word. I can't think of it right now. The Where do we start with these to break that cycle?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like on a fundamental level, what do we need to do? Is it, like, at what point do we break out of our comfort zone and start talking to people in your community? At what point do we, as people who are on this side that are in that kind of environment, do we actually go and get involved in local politics? Like, this is the part where I kind of am like, I want to gather more research and figure out my history first before I personally do this, because I feel like that's important to have context on where we were and have a deep understanding so that way I can have an intellectual conversation on these types of topics, because I
Yeah.
do
Right.
not want to have a conversation and or a debate with somebody and be like, well, I don't know that event off the top of my head. That will look stupid. And I do not want to look stupid in front of people, that especially when I'm trying to have a conversation. I want to gather this and have talks with like my family first that are right wing, that
Yeah.
I can practice this type of conversation with. But I want to have conversations. I know for a fact I want to have conversations with people on the right, because that's where I think it needs to start.
Well, and
Start picking people to have these. Go ahead.
Ryan brought up a good point. Continuous learning about yourself and others, getting out of your comfort zone. And I agree with that. And that's where having conversations like we are right now, live with other people to interact, is important.
Mm-hmm. I also think that giving people who, because I don't want to say they're all introverts, but giving people who are emotionally unable to handle confrontation.
Mm.
There are those people out there that like they're just going to turn into a hot mess as a confrontation. I think part of what we need to be doing is ensuring that that word is out there, that we are safe for those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you do not have to face this shit alone. You do not have to step into the fire because you're trans. No. I have a little pin that's got all the rainbow colors for all the flags, both the bright ones and the pastel ones, all of it. And it says free mom hugs. You need a mom hug? Come here. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
You walk up to me. It could be the middle of Walmart. You walk up to me and say, I need a mom hug. I'm going to give your ass a mom hug. It don't matter. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what size you are. I don't care what your religion is, how you identify. I don't care who you're in love with. It could be the flying spaghetti monster for all those answers. I don't care. But I'm going to make that person feel safe in that moment.
Yeah.
Hear that? You touched on people being unable to handle things emotionally. And coming from, I can only speak for myself, sometimes that's hard,
Mhm.
especially when it's a conversation that hits home, or a belief system you're strongly about. It's hard
Or-
to keep our feelings out of conversation,
Or if it's
Yes.
something that triggers.
or to keep that, and because once you pass that, after a certain point, once you pass that you are triggered, it triggered some past thing, it it can block whatever can be coming on. So
Yep.
even if you're coming in an aspect of defending or protecting, we ourselves also have to have our own emotional build.
Mhm.
And this ties all into media literacy,
Yep.
literacy, the emotional intelligence, and it's all intertwined. Cognitive science
Yeah.
is so, like, I'm learning that this is a very fascinating subject, because it all ties into that. It truly does. It all goes down into how we gather information, how we perceive information, even in topics that are triggering, the
Yep.
sensitive, the hardcore conversations that are very difficult, especially when it's triggering.
Here is my something I would be interested in. Also, I keep throwing shit at you for interesting stuff. Looking at where the state of that is today versus 30 years ago.
I missed 30 years.
Because
I'm just going to say that.
I wasn't even born. I was like 30 years ago. guys.
So see, you were born. Fuck off.
I'm only a baby.
You're such a baby.
But like, I mean, really, how has that changed? And is it because of just technology? Or is there other factors too? Because that could also that could be a part of the piece of the puzzle of understanding where all the differences occur.
Different generations have different ways of processing information. My parents, it was taught, you don't show your fucking emotion. We don't talk about emotion. You don't do nothing. Men were taught, you don't cry in front of nobody. You are not allowed to cry. If you cry, you are not a man. That's the type of stuff. And I agree with you on that. There's a lot of generational things that has happened that as we go on, it might appear that we are more soft. No, we're just going to call out what the fuck we see it. And some people are going to be like, I'm going to say it the way it is, regardless of who it offends, because it needs to be said.
What that mouth do?
Hurt your feelings. You know, sometimes it needs to be called out. I need to be called out. We all need to be called out. Sometimes we need to check and balance.
My best friend and I, like, one of our biggest things is we do not co-sign each other's bullshit. Like, if you want to go out and act a fool, I'm gonna tell you that you're acting a fool. But I'm gonna expect the same in return. If I go do something stupid and act a fool, you're my best friend. Your ass better call me out on it. And I don't think enough people have that. I think there are too many people who co-sign other people's bullshit so that they don't hurt their feelings. Fuck that shit. I don't even co-sign my daughter's bullshit. She does something stupid, I'm gonna tell her. It is my job to prepare her for adulthood and to be a responsible member of society.
Yes.
And you know, if she thinks that she can just get away with anything, that ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna call her out.
The bringing up the whole calling out thing. I stumbled across a podcast a couple of days ago that I think everybody needs to listen to. It's called Humanize Stories from the Heart About Social Justice. And it's a white woman and a black man talking about social justice issues from their different perspectives. And it's just, their episodes are short. They're only like 20 minutes long, some of them. But there's an episode that they aired on July 23rd of last year called So You Got Called Out, Now What? And
what's the name of the show again? I'm sorry.
The name of the show is Humanize Stories from the Heart About Social Justice.
Send me the link when you can, and I'll make sure we put that in the recap.
Yeah, I'm going to copy the link right now so you guys get So You Got Called Out, and it basically talks about different perspectives and listening to what you're being told. And this comes under the context of a book club, and they are all people who work in DEI. So it's a really good podcast. I think everybody should listen to this episode. It's only like 20 minutes long. I thought it was very to the point about what we're talking about now. As far as perspectives and listening and coming to grips with things and having important conversations and being able to have those conversations. Even if you're sitting in your feelings because you got called out.
Right.
And that's an important discussion that, and I will keep hammering this, that white people in particular need to have with each other.
I agree.
So, yeah, that's a really good podcast. I think everybody needs to listen to it.
I agree.
Yeah.
We are at the 3-hour mark. I think this is one of the longer ones.
Are we at the 3-hour mark?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Really?
I don't know if we are.
My recorder
Are
says
we?
2 hours and 12 minutes.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the one for on the actual streaming thing.
Oh yeah,
All
you
good.
You were on like an hour
all of our
good.
before.
testing beforehand.
The testing.
Okay, so
before.
let's switch over to our screen share because it's time to listen to some funny shit. And I need to
Funny.
load this window.
It's hiding from you. We're using a different streaming webs thing. Technical difficulties.
Well, the problem is I have two different browsers open and it's
Right.
not pulling the correct browser, so I have to do it in the correct way. So, okay. I think I found it. I did. Volume for that. Oh, it's not
Nope.
showing because I have to share it first.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This whole new setting thing is a little
We'll get it nailed down.
we'll get it. We'll
You'll
get it figured out.
figure it out. You will figure it out, I promise you.
There we go.
Are you able to full screen it? Yeah, full screen that shit. Okay, go ahead. Let's see if we can
Okay,
hear
here
it.
we go.
Oof.
Oh, wait, we have a problem with no sound. They can't hear it. Hold on.
Oh no. Oh
Because I
no.
have the wrong setting set again. Because I'm a dumbass.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't mind watching it again.
I don't either. It's pretty funny.
That better?
That's funny. Say,
Oh,
say the
it
next
started
one.
over. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, could you hear it that time, Pablo? Because I have more.
Play the next. Play the next. Play the next. Play the next. Full screen it.
Okay. Go.
Sad silence.
Sad silence? Again?
Let me let me
I
see
had
if I
it
can
mute.
try playing the video.
Okay, how about this?
Photo right up
Random
next to
happening
La Ofrenda
video.
and pray for you. You know, every Dia de los.
Now I'm getting an echo. Technical difficulties.
muertos.
Got it now.
So my recommendation for this, every now and again, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna spritz a little bit of holy water out the window, just in case anything getting too close. And on the grill, you're gonna put some chanclas on there, so if anything crosses the street, it's gonna get hit with some chanclazos. But try to turn around, because that's all you're gonna be able to do. Dios los bendiga, best of luck, take care of yourselves. If you heard it, no you didn't. Why are we going up the fucking mountain?
Wow, that was a lot of echo for me. Guys?
Nope.
Okay, it's because I have the monitor. Got it. Okay.
I love that one. Latinos against spooky shit.
Latinos against spooky shit.
It's a great one to follow. Hilarious.
We have more. Chris has been like on it.
On it. Hopefully the next video there'll be good no more issues.
So don't look up here.
Full screen.
Hey. Oh, did you say hi?
He's not overeating. I know that. Look at.
Full screen.
Face the camera.
Full screen it.
Smile. Don't yawn. Smile. Okay.
I fucking
Fuck, this cat just brought in a mouse.
What are you?
Ow!
Yeah, cats are.
What?
No. That's right. Hey, cats right there.
To a special Lego Town event that's not open to...
And say it's holy in and of itself, or it's holy because God in some way.
Whoa! Hey, cat.
Bean. Oh. Good morning. Oliver. I'm so sorry. She's crazy.
I hope you know that's not a litter box.
Oh, God.
What are you doing?
Look, I'm right here.
Shit.
Back at the beginning. That was adorable.
Twas.
Oh my gosh, how many did you send, Chris? Okay, so we have one
There's
more.
Yeah, there should just be one more.
There's only one. Don't forget to full screen it.
It's not letting me. Here we go. Okay.
Little boy's half Vietnamese, and his dad's name is me. So me and I know. Me and I were inspectors at a robotics tournament, and it turned to bad Asian version of Who's On First. Because the director came up and said, hey, who signed up on this robot? And I said, me. He said, you? And I said, no. Well, then who? Him. Well, who's he? Me. We can do this all day, buddy. So me found out I was making fun of him in public. TV, radio, everywhere I can. He's a grown man. He's had that name his entire life. No one's ever made fun of it except for me. So he calls me, he goes, hey, you making fun of me? I said, yeah, making fun of you. He goes, why? I go, because we're sick of me. He said, it gets worse. I go, how? He goes, my sister's name is you. I said, you're lying. He goes, I swear. I'm like, how cruel are your parents? We're going to name them me and you and send them to America. That's what we're doing. That'll teach them to talk back. Well, my daughter's best friend's little boy's half Vietnamese.
That's bad.
I love my humor. Look, my reels on YouTube are very, very indicative of the same shit that I watch on TikTok. I want to laugh my ass off.
I feel that 100%.
And cats.
Yeah, you always got to have cats or pets of any kind or baby animals. In my case, any kind of shark, even if it's AI, I will devour.
I like watching parrots and birds and talking birds and all of the different things that they say. There's a few creators I watch specifically for that alone.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically for that, and it's highly amusing. Parrots are really, really stupidly intelligent and can be taught a lot of things. There are also so many things you can learn and a lot of things you should know before even owning a parrot, because a lot of people were just like, oh my god, I would love to have a parrot or this type of bird, but don't really do the research. Like a lot of birds, they need to have a companion for their adaptability. A lot of birds are very much so community based, like having that interactive thing, the enrichment, the different types of things you need to do and keep in mind. Yeah.
There's also the hygiene issues that people don't know.
You're not supposed to pet them at all. You're never supposed to actually pet.
Like they can rub against you.
Yes.
Because they know what they should do. But you shouldn't be doing that to them.
No, the only thing you should do, if allowed, especially when you build a bond with them, is preening, which is you get in the back of their neck and you help them preen the back of their neck. And same thing with baths, or water, just water, unless it's like an extreme case where you might have to use some mild soap.
Actually,
but even then, it's like
I had a cockatiel at my dad's many years ago, and the people that we got him from, as long as the bird is not in the same room, because they have a very, very sensitive respiratory system, but if you want to make sure that things are clean because of bird droppings, you can spray it with alcohol. Once you wipe everything down with water, then spray it with alcohol and let it dry completely.
Yeah. There's a couple bird people that they do that, but they definitely make sure that it is dried completely and that there's no residual. They even rinse it off again with water just to be sure. But just overall, giving birds baths,
no air fresheners,
nothing. There's so much that goes into bird ownership that a lot of people just don't know. So I find it fascinating. Yeah. There's a couple of creators that are really big. One of them specifically that's really big on educating and getting the word out there for people who don't know. I like it. Also, I like learning about bird psychology.
You mean you just like learning about psychology?
I mean, listen,
I'm listening. I'm listening.
calling me out here.
I mean, we all
We
know.
don't co-sign each other's bullshit.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I do that. If I could, I just don't want to go in more debt. I just got out of college debt, but if I could just go to college without there being any financial repercussion, I probably would be in psychology or some type of brain function type thing, because that is a thing that fascinates me.
You'd be good at it.
I would be good at it. I would be fantastic at it, but a college degree is not really beneficial in this day and age. I could barely afford food sometimes. Like, I cannot afford, not without sacrificing a lot.
Hey, colleges out there, like if anybody comes across this and you're go to a college, hook our girl up for free because she's smart. Look, I'm going to use our platform. I'm going to say shit.
Well, this is why even though I may not be able to afford a degree, I think personal interest type learning is more my style. Yeah. Especially when it comes down to learning things. Like, I'm at this point now, I'm like, okay, I need to go on this path of learning about shit. So hence why I'm reading legitimate textbooks now. Right now I only have them in file format. So I read on my tablet. But I'm a highlighter and marker type of note taker to retain information. Those textbooks are like $200.
Yeah.
So
they're expensive.
I'll have to save up for thrift books because I can find it for about $75 on thrift books. But even then, it's like $75 for a 240 page book. Because for me, it's a lot. As of right now, I have to save up for that. Yeah, half price books or whatever got capped off is starred now. But I have to definitely look at some of those places. And it's hard to say if even the public library might have it, because there is how many universities and colleges are in this area? Like, there's a lot of colleges here. So there is that. So maybe I might get lucky and find it at a library. Like, that's like a real shot in the dark right there. Like, in the quick search I did online, it wasn't even, they don't even have it. Like, it's not even a listed book on the thing.
Well, also something you could do is contact the dean of the department at the college and ask if there are any damaged books. Because like they might have ones that the cover's been ripped off or something. You don't need the cover.
Yeah, a lot of people try to resell their books.
Yep. But sometimes if there's a damaged one, there's nothing that can be done with it.
Before Ryan's getting censored by Twitch, I'm sorry. I'll have to look at our settings to see if we can get that fixed so you can actually share.
Yeah, that's stupid. I don't know. There has to be some. I'm trying to think of whatever.
There has to be a word in it that they just don't like, or something. I don't know. I'll have to look at our settings later. All right. I think this is a good place for us to call it for the night. We had some really deep conversations today. I love and appreciate both of you for having these conversations with me.
Back at you.
Thank you, Pablo.
Just a link.
I think we need to continue having these conversations outside of the space. So if you guys want to participate, those of you who are watching, if you want to participate in these conversations, please do so in our chat. And if you have any funny shit, stories, drama, we love drama here, that you want to share with us, please do it at request@ramblingsofthemad.com. And that's it for us tonight. Love you guys. Good night.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in here at Ramblings the Mat. If you want to find us again, go ahead and follow us on Blue Sky, Spotify, anytime, anywhere you find your podcast, we're probably there. You want to tune in live next time, just log into Twitch, and we're on YouTube too. We're literally everywhere. Ramblings of the Mat. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Get some Z's, bruhs.
I'm a potato.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yes.
Just need to get